There it is. Okay, so infancy chapter 4 and lots and lots on infancy. Shit. So there's a bunch of different stages we'll go through in here. Let's see if these work. Of course they don't work like that. No entry point. So let's try again. Hello.
No, I was a Hey, Charles.
There it is. Hi. How y'all doing?
Bless.
Infancy as in all of life. There are stages of development.
Your class online, but is it not on your YouTube channel?
It should be. It says Dr. Trout at Central State. Yeah. That'd save them too. You guys got any cousins this young that look like that age?
Smaller. I
Small?
got a nephew.
Right, okay. You found a different channel.
But infants grow so rapidly that sometimes we don't even notice when they move from one stage to the next. Each stage has its own challenges.
When's she having it?
She's due April 1st.
Okay. Here's how you lock. Why does this thing move? It drives me insane. Okay. That's-
Which brings special meaning.
Is she?
Yeah, she's huge. This is her second kid. She's 21.
Oh yeah, you get big faster on your second kid.
And her nose fat.
Her what?
Her nose is so fat.
Baby or the,
No, my sister.
do they say why that is? Do you know? Like maybe swelling just from being pregnant?
I think so.
Probably. You hold in like a lot of fluids and soul. This is just a few minutes around chapter 4 infancy, but so much stuff happens. It's important to kind of like meet the kids' needs. Like teach them stuff, show them stuff, expose them to stuff, outside, play in the dirt, pick up worms, you know.
Warmth and caring. Young infants thrive on a close relationship with the caregiver. Their primary issue is security. Discovery and movement. Most infants seem to get into everything in a quest to learn about the world. Their major focus is exploration. Independence and control are consumed with who they are and who's in charge. Their main concern is identity. Security, exploration, and identity are evolving in a child under 3, but they receive different emphasis at each stage. Security is the young infant's major concern. His feelings about security influence his exploration and become part of his identity. Exploration takes center stage as the child becomes more mobile. He begins to identify himself as an explorer and ventures out more when he feels secure. Identity grows and demands expression in a child around 2. Her sense of security is increasingly based within herself. She continues to explore, but with more purpose. The key to caring for young, mobile, and older infants is being able to adapt to the primary issue of each stage without losing sight of the 2 other issues.
So It's funny too, is they mention the exploring stuff, and that's sometimes what we get annoyed with the kids. Like they get into crap and dump it out and unroll toilet papers and flush down the toilet or like flip your makeup over and splash it all over the place or throw their plate of food on the floor because they're like testing gravity or seeing if you're going to pick up their fork. And it takes a lot of patience. I guess I'll say that. Like sometimes you want to like be like, mofo, you drop that one time and get smacked. And it's, there's a balancing act between that. They do need discipline. They are testing the limits. So it's important to give them a little bit of both. So some of the consequences we covered before that both parents are working. So that daycare, how do you guys feel about daycare? What do you think? Will you put your kids in daycare? Will you try to?
I don't know.
I know.
Cause like some daycare can be legit, but some just be.
I know. Right, yeah, I feel like some of them are starting to put on 24-hour a day cameras so they can
Or
show
something, because
what the kids
I
are
see
doing.
some of these stories where kids getting hurt in daycare.
Right. I mean, even in school, you know what I mean? Like you see just a little girl that got beat on the bus down in the South that was like, you guys see that? Yeah. It was.
I'm scared for me to put my kid in daycare.
Exactly.
I don't put my kid in daycare. I'm going. I'm sending you with a phone.
Yeah,
It was summer in the
South.
Yeah, my mom. Grandma gonna be babysitting. She can't have my job.
Right.
Her job is this.
It was
I pay you to babysit mom.
So talk about care you can get in like, what do they call this? In school. So I do think there was actually charges pressed. I guess buses all have a video now. And if it wants to work for me, of course. So none of these
The
things.
IRS is accepting returns.
I feel
Stamp
like
your
it
W-2
just
and file bank
recently happened. So have to go to school till you're what, like 5 or 6 or 7?
It's for depending on like your birthday, and then yeah, 5.
Okay.
It starts from 9 to 5.
I say
13?
I was 17.
You said when you graduated high school, you were 13.
Oh, I thought you said when you started high school.
Me too.
Oh,
I was 13.
So this 9-year-old, I'm like, it's a big kid. It's like,
dang.
He needs to go to jail.
yes. And that's what you're saying. Like,
Man, brother, we get the bus stop right now.
yes. So I think there was charges
Hey,
pressed, but
like,
that's a 9-year-old. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Boy was a 9.
the girl was a 9-year-old. The boy looks like he's in his teens.
yeah, he for sure.
Because why would you punch her?
And why they don't
And
want
like-
the bus if they different ages in grade?
Yeah,
Right.
where's the bus assistant? Like, why aren't you breaking that?
Maybe he was like a 8th grader. Is that how old you are in 8th grade? Is it
Like 12, 13.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, I feel like I graduated high school at 17, so I
Me
was
too.
a young
I was 12 in 8th grade.
I had
He's on
just
junior.
turned 18 when we graduated.
summer birthdays.
Yeah, my birthday was November.
But it would be like, older people. When I was in the 3rd grade, and my sister was in the 6th grade, and there was this girl that was in the 6th grade, and she was 16. She was a woman too. She used to make us write cuss words on the seat. We was scared of her, so we write them.
Them people was that got held back 3
I
times.
should make you guys right so you got busted.
That's
She said, "I'm gonna lie in the bush."
Once you hit a certain age, once you hit a certain age in the 3rd grade, they just put you up because you're too old to be in the 6th grade.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, so
Cause you gonna what was the age before you came graduate?
I think it's like 21 or 22. I mean, you can get a GED. Is
So
that
you telling me 21 or
They said once you touch.
Yeah,
so you telling me 21 you be in school with 14, 13-year-olds?
so? If you start high school at
I was
14,
gonna say, I had a friend that
That's
graduated
just-
16.
That's just.
but it's probably a special high school by then. I feel like it's a special high school.
I was ready to get out of high school.
If
I
you
was making
21
sure
or
I
22, you should not be allowed to be in no school with no 14 and 13.
This girl that went to my high school graduated at 23.
Okay. Yeah, as you get
From high
IEP,
school. From high school.
get IEP up until, actually it is the day before your 22nd birthday. So that is about 1 year shy of that.
Might be a little bit too loud.
That's what I'm saying. Well, all these little kids, I'll be scared.
That's how I feel about college. Like, there's no way some of us is like 18, 19. I'm in class with a 25-year-old.
Yeah, that's probably pretty typical, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Like this boy in our class, he's 21, we're freshmen.
Your mommy here.
I would say that's probably pretty typical.
She
That
took him
is,
like, well,
you know,
man, y'all better go straight through this. Like,
the
put
key
the
is
way in there, be like, oh, I want to go.
the key is to go straight through.
That's 18 straight to college, masters, and start my life.
Me
For
too.
real.
I
So-
couldn't wait.
Anyway, I got time.
And a lot of this development starting at infancy, I know it sounds crazy, but like you're getting exposed, you're getting used to things. If you're exposed to violence or anger or aggression, I have a 14-year-old client right now. It sounds like she is exposed to quite a bit. She has an alcoholic father, mom divorced. She's currently like dated somebody else, but they're breaking up, and it sounds like, you know, sometimes a 14-year-old has to take on adult characteristics, like just to get through dealing with life in general. And so, as weird as it may seem, a lot of our development starts at an early young age, at infancy, like some of the stuff that we're exposed to. So from birth to about 2 years, your hallmarks are physical growth. Like they just weighed our 6-week-old, and now he's 12.1 pounds. We were like, oh crap! So that's like 90 percentile in weight. Motor development and vocal development. So you talk to them a lot. You try to read them books if you can. Cognitive and social development. You get them out seeing kids. Like you all said, they don't have to go to kindergarten until like 5. I think preschool you can start at 3 as long as you're like trained. First year, there's tons of physical growth and size, depending on conditions as well as genetic element. So, birth weight is doubled by 5 months. So if they were like 8 months at birth, they're going to be 16 in 5 months. Then the birth length is doubled at 3 or 4 years, and then at 2 years, if you have any nieces or nephews, measure them at 2 years. That's half their height at full grown. So if they're like 3 feet tall at 2 years old, they're going to be a split tall kid, which is kind of weird. I'm sure there's differentiations on that, but here is another quick 2-minute clip on infancy. Is this the same one we just watched?
In la infancia, lo mismo
No,
que
it's in Spanish. Okay, it is the same one. All right, cool. Like that's the same music we just had. So there's a lot of different things going on in child development.
Become a versatile and in-demand asset in the workforce with the University of Florida's College of
Okay.
They do some weird scientific tests on babies.
They do.
Look at, like, what is all that? They just want to measure how they kick. So day 1, I guess they're going to show the progression. 30 minutes. Because they don't have the muscles yet. So right when they're born, they have like two muscles, like to be able to suck, eat, drink, and they start moving their neck, moving their arms. There's day 2, so they get some muscles. They're seeing how to move to the music. How many dang cameras they have on them? It looks like they're like expose your kids to as much stuff as you can, keeping them safe, and Do they make you guys take CPR for any of your jobs? Which
For
ones?
my nursing job.
Okay,
But I've been doing
so you've probably already seen this one. Hey, Cincinnati. Like if a baby's choking or dying.
You arrive on scene, check the scene for safety. Check the infant for consciousness.
Some of them are
Gently
getting
tap the shoulder
vaccinated
or
young
flick the
and
bottom of the
they're
heel
having
and
it
down.
stops. So that's why.
Baby, are you okay? Are you okay?
They're gonna say, yeah.
No response, 911.
Call 911.
If the infant is lying on their stomach, turn them onto their back. They should be lying on a hard, flat surface. Check for breathing and signs of life. Watch their chest for any movement. Signs of life and breathing for no more than 10 seconds. No breathing or signs of life, begin CPR. Position 2 or 3 fingers on the center of the infant's breastbone, just below the nipple line. Press the chest 1.5 inches in depth 30 times.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So you guys know why you do that. It's just basically getting the oxygen to their brain and then oxygen, because it makes them breathe too, like opening the lungs, it beats the heart. You go too long without oxygen in your brain, you get brain damage. If you go too long for like other parts of the body, it causes challenges. So, there's a lot of good research on children and trauma, and they did a lot of weird experiments. Have you guys ever heard of the Bobo dolls? I'll show you. This was before like they had to pass it through an IRB and get the research approved, but they did some weird stuff. How many commercials do they have? Ooh. They're gonna stick it. That doesn't even look like it. Okay, here's the Bobo dolls.
They said, we're being as easy that you need
All right. So some of the red flags, like while the kids are growing up, if they have a large or small head size, like the head could be too big, small height could be a genetic syndrome, infant brain. So their brain growth is most critical. At a year and a half, it's about, or at a year, it's half the size of an adult brain. So kind of like, think how big our heads are, that's how big your brain is. Kids about half that when they're 1, and they have, why they say to expose them to everything, they have billions of neurons, and everything that they see. Proper brain development needs proper nutrition. So getting them everything. Sometimes they have like extra vitamins, some of them put it into the formula. Experience in the social environment is important. During this time, growth does not happen at the same rate all over. So cephalocaudal is baby's growth from head to feet, and proximal is from spine to the extremities, kind of like the wingspan. So the maturation theory is that like they're genetically programmed to grow a certain way, which is true, but we can also expose them and get them like using their brain fast and early. Some of the milestones are, see if they are keeping up with 50% of their height and weight age. Don't take into account the quality, like clinical experience needed. Station is like posture, sitting, standing positions. The gait is their movement. It helps us see if like they're at risk for developmental delay. And then screening. Right now we took our kid in for It's like every week after they're born for a few weeks, then you start going every month until 3 months, and then you do like 6, 9, 18, and 24 months. It seems like a lot of things, but they're just making sure there's not like weird stuff. So yeah, 1 month, that's what my dude is at. Last week, he started turning his head.
Your new baby?
Yeah. And he's 12.1 now. They weighed him today 6 weeks. So he went from 8.5 to 12.1 in 6 weeks. And I guess he'll be 16 weeks at 5 months. And they started, so you put them on the floor and they want to like lift themselves. Like they're just getting all these muscles. 7 months, they usually can sit without like holding on to something. 10 months, they can have a creeping walk, cruising around furniture where they'll like, you know, they pull all the shit down. So you got to be careful, like if it's glass or like you just got to baby proof the house. 12 months, they might take their first independent steps, like walking, like you see them barely walking. 14 months, they stand without pulling up and they walk. They don't need like a desk to pull themselves up on. 16 months, they can walk backwards. And that's funny, that's kind of what our little dude is at right now. So we have May of 21, December of 22, and our oldest was June of 2020. And at 2 years, they can kick a ball, jump with 2 feet. Right. It's true, yeah. So again, it's like whatever you expose them to. So you can up to 18 months. If they're not doing it by that age, then you might want to see a social worker or doctor. So it's like can't sit if they're not walking at 18 months. Although I had a niece who didn't walk until 2 years because her parents carried her everywhere. And she knew it. She's like, I ain't walking. Like they picked me up and carried me. I'm not walking. So she just refused to walk until she was 2 years old. She's fine, but she was smart.
I know you walking dead.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta get up. You won't.
Exactly. Like get up. So here's like the visual depiction of that. So you got. Actually, he was sleeping like this the other night, and I told her the hbse's. I'm like, dude, he's got to be alone in the back of the crib. Like he's fine. He can turn his head. And I'm like, all right. If he dies, it's not my fault. So 2 months they start, doing, they have to get all these different muscles here. So they come there, they can push themselves up, they can roll over at 5, they sit up kind of a tripod. 6 and 7 months. What's that?
They start all the way.
Usually like 6 or 7 months. So that's like normal. Well, yeah, here it is. It says chronological progression of motor development during the first 12 months, reproduced. I don't care if it's reproduced, but walking at 12 is normal. That's kind of the whole. I'm sure you've got a million babies' first steps if you try. You guys ever seen some take their first steps? You like force them to, like, go, all right, go.
I grab them.
Okay.
Put some like this.
Yeah, put something in front of them.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Something that they really want.
I was going to say they usually. Well, here we go. We'll have somebody that gives narration. Why not? And commercial.
different
Anybody
about
on
the
vacation for
vacation
spring
home?
break? You can
You
rent
always
from
have your own place to
VRBO.
yourself.
I'll get that. So, when is spring break? Next month? Or April?
It's March 20th.
No more momentous milestone. Baby's first steps.
You know what the first day of spring is?
Hop, skip, jump away from
March
all
22nd.
kinds of adventure.
You know how Easter is determined? You guys know how they determine Easter every year? After the first full moon, after the first. They could be anywhere from March 22nd to April
So
22nd.
you said Easter is
It changes every year. March 22nd or April
I've
22nd.
never seen Easter be in March.
It's March 22nd some years.
That's it. Hold out.
So it's the first Sunday after the first full moon, after what they call the vernal equinox, is like the first day of spring. So, yeah, let me get you. Tell them to come to class. Say, dude, come up to class. We got some important stuff to learn about babies.
As early as 8 months, as late as 18 months, with most tots walking well by
Quarter
13 and a
or
half
half.
weeks.
Try not to chase developmental timetables. You'll be doing plenty of chasing once he starts walking. Instead, embrace the journey. Keep your phone charged and at the ready to capture those first steps on video. And while you're waiting to push record, give baby plenty of time to practice her floor moves. She'll walk faster without a walker, which actually slows development down. Plus, walkers are seriously unsafe. A stationary activity center that bounces and spins won't carry safety risks.
You guys ever seen them walkers? Or like,
Yeah, for babies.
yeah. They're saying they're just unstable because you like, they get moving and they're like, wham, like they slam. But they're right, a stationary one's fine because they're not going to fall. So that's all they're saying.
So slow walking, if baby's cooped up in one too often or for too long. Your baby's just starting to activate his cruise control, but seems unsure how
They
to
make the house look so clean. Does anybody have a house that's clean? It's that clean.
With the baby?
I'm just asking, just curiosity, because we
No, no matter how much
Okay.
cleaning your baby's
I'm just-
like, at that grabbing stage, they grab everything and eat.
Right.
Yeah. Anything on the floor, you make sure.
That seems clean.
take next steps. Give him a hand, actually a hand, and let him take a few steps while you hold on tight for balance. Your back will ache, but your heart will melt. Place tantalizing toys a step or two out of his reach.
That's what they said you did. He bribed him to walk. They said tantalizing toys a step or two out of his reach.
So he can take those baby steps and prize his eyes. Don't push those first steps, but do try a push toy. A small shopping cart, for instance, or a pint-sized lawnmower can give your little one a
I know, I was gonna say, what is the difference?
as she pushes it and
Maybe.
find her balance.
So like that one is
Confidence
more spot
and throughout the station.
That is weird, yeah. I don't-
Holding one foot in the other, something she couldn't do in a walker where she couldn't see her feet. Look for a toy with a bar or handle she can on and think wheels and tipping. Since the best shoes for beginning walkers are no shoes at all, keep baby's footsies bare when you can.
I would rather.
Bare feet or not.
They say bare feet also because it forms their like, bone structure in their
So what about them little shoes, like they white shoes that they really hard on the bottom? But
The mini
look-
Jordans,
Huh?
the mini Jordans. They have them, I'm for real.
They are not really. They some ugly like they look like church shoes.
Okay. They're saying no shoes, but maybe if you went to church, you could put them on for.
No, I'm saying they were saying like the shoes has to help the babies like feet or something when they walk through.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, I'm sure who's ever selling it is like, this is really gonna help your baby, but I have heard research says no like shoes. Just because it helps the muscles form.
Some days came up with shoes.
Right, right. What's that?
Shoes are so heavy.
Well, right, they're heavy, they get caught on stuff, so. Right. So bare
Some
feet.
socks if floors are chilly will give him more traction, build his balance and coordination.
Socks are.
And help his arches develop. When you step outside, choose shoes
Yeah,
that are
I-
lightweight and comfortable.
What's that?
I was good top.
Socks with like the traction, you know, like the grips. They say they're like sticky socks that have plastic on the bottom.
Regular socks. They try to walk with sometimes.
That's true, yeah. Yep. And she's saying outdoors, because I took mine on a walk yesterday, it was like 40 degrees, and the dude had thrown his boots out and the socks out. He ran barefoot 40 degrees. And I'm like, listen, dude. Because the other one was crying, her hands were all cold. She wouldn't wear gloves, and it took 5 minutes. And it was that windshield day, like 4:30 and windy, and they were bright red. She was all crying. Like, yeah, I'm like, told you, put on some damn gloves.
Flexible. Step away from those crazy cute boots or high tops. Too much ankle support can
That's
slow
weird
your
looking.
walker down. It may take some time.
Come on. You like gotta pay 5 cleaners for like an hour a day to clean your house. Like, look at that.
If
Anyway,
city issues.
not mine.
Plaintiff
Yes.
serves
Said,
on
"Don't
the
go to
case.
Is that the bonus of a hotel? You get in and it's just perfect, clean, and you can trash it and leave. Right.
Coordination and solves the normal depth perception issues that come standard for babies her age. There were bumps and bruises on the road to walking.
Dude, they fall on
With
their
your
head
tot
all the
taking
freaking
plenty
time.
of tumbles along the
They
way.
get hurt all the
You
time.
can't prevent them all, but you can try to minimize the damage. Her knees and her
I know.
by keeping her path free, toys, papers, diapers, or anything else that might trip her up.
But that's how they learn
Be
to walk.
sure to clean up spills that might slip her up. When she kicks the ball, try to take it in stride. She's more likely to overreact if you do. Reassure her, and then, when she's ready, encourage her to get up and try again. Here's to baby steps.
So you guys will all have your whole, first. Do you guys all, when you walked, or your parents tell you when you walked? When?
6 months.
Dang. I know, that's like the sit-up time. Dang. Because look, yeah, right here, it said 6 sit-up. 12, you begin walking. Okay. Right. I feel like both of mine were like for real on the first birthday. It was crazy.
Well, how long did it take you to train your kids?
God, I don't want to think about that now. Is we have to have it done by August, and none of them are. For the first one to go to preschool, they have to be potty trained. No problem. I'm like, glad you think that. I'd rather crap my pants my whole life if somebody can clean up.
I don't say, but daycare, some daycares do, but
They do, right. I think you have to pay more. If they're in diapers, you pay more. And then if they potty train, you pay a little bit less.
but I mean, even when they start off potty training, they still be having to act like.
Yes. You gotta give a change of clothes and like the pull-ups. And then you get old and you start, then get prostate issues and sometimes got that dribble. So you get to shake it more than twice. You know what that means. So here's the fine motor skills. Like you're trying to pick up the little things or like stuff that we take for granted now, but kids can't do this usually. So they can hold on to a rattle at 2 months, but you got to put it in their hand. Start batting stuff. They're like, he's broken our remote every week the past 4 weeks.
I'll be like, no.
So we found old fake remotes and we give him, he knows which one. He's like, turn it off, and he'll hand it to us. When he knows it's not the real remote, he goes to find it, he slams it on the floor. He knows the power. He knows the power. They know the power. Yeah. And the new 18-month-old knows mom has a new, and he's pissed. He is pissed. She said he woke up from the nap and she was holding him and he like went, oh no, and like started hitting his head. So she went over. His own. Like he's pissed that he was the baby until a month ago.
He wanted attention.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's what she's like fighting between it. She's like, so do I tell him to shut the hell up or do I like
Ignore it.
give him the love that he wants? So there's all kinds of this different. Yes. Any questions about these first year and a half of like growing pains? How old do you all want to be if you want to have kids? When you have kids?
I'm 25.
25.
I have my master's.
26.
Okay.
Same.
You don't want to be an old geezer like me at 42,
Absolutely not.
43,
Absolutely not.
44. My back hurts every
I
day.
feel like it's just too old. Like, don't you want to, I want to be kid free.
I know, I hear you. There's like a balancing act because
I don't think 30 is that bad. I don't think 30 is your first kid. My grandma, that's all she was when she had my mom.
for women 18 to 35.
I don't know though.
My
For
grandma-
men, you gotta stay in good shape.
Look, I don't think no older than this should be. He's like, you 60 and up.
You know that they're having them up until like 60. So.
Yeah, put that nigga in.
I just
there.
Put that-
Y'all gonna be some grandbabies by the time.
You're gonna be 88 when you're 50. Like, that's not cool.
No.
great.
Right. You gonna have a candy kid, like.
So the best thing men can take is called red beet extract, and it's supposed to help blood flow. It's good for workouts, and it's good for it's like a
Do
pre.
guys really take Viagra?
Well, it's the same thing as that, but it's all natural. So red beet oils, beet extract. Yeah.
Young people be trying to take it too. They say not supposed to. Some of them dudes, they be talking on purpose and stuff.
You're saying, well, if you're drinking too much, they will get whiskey balls or whatever it's called. So well, they just can't perform. If they drink too much, they can't perform.
I heard guys beat their stuff a lot. They can't run.
So okay, there is research. No, for real. This is important for, and I know we're at the beginning, but there's research on pornography. The gray matter in the brain of men gets messed up by pornography. You're saying you hear me? I would say yes, but and what it's saying is that like it would trigger like the fetish piece in the brain where you like have to like feel the mouse on your computer, logging in, and that's what's arousing instead of like.
So would that be like, I think it's like, hypersexual. Yeah, isn't it?
Well, I feel like it would be the opposite of that. It would be like unsexualized because they can't be aroused unless if it's like they're logging in to look at pornography.
That's
So-
why I'm gonna get them very late.
What's that?
They phone on time.
Oh, because now they're watching on phones, you're saying. So that's just what research is showing, like pornography messes with the gray matter in your brain, like the connective pieces that's like, I should be intimate, like I got married, I want to have kids, and kind of the whole process. So again, I try to bring research into every study, but it's interesting. It's like, who knew that that's where, like the fetishized stuff comes from? It's because like your brain gets hooked on the way that you're aroused, however it is. Do you know what pincer grasps are when you do the blueberries with the kids? That's where they can pick up a small little blueberry.
Oh,
They can't do it till like 12 months usually.
wow. They
Yeah.
can't pull out a flower off the ground.
Right. 14 months, they can imitate back and forth scribble or build a 3-cube tower. 20 months, they can adjust a spoon for eating. So just kind of like
How old is 20 months?
about a year and a half.
Oh,
And then 22 months, just before you're 2, at 24 months, you can close the box with a lid, imitate a vertical line, and then at 2 years, they put all this crap out. You can build a 6-box tower, feed the cells, spoon, remove clothing. I would argue differently. Maybe it's because we help ours take a bath. She definitely is. They pull socks off. They hate socks.
I don't know. I don't think you're doing it. I really hate how that mom trying to drink water off the towel.
I'm about to say that too. They not doing removing all their clothes.
I know.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I don't think this.
They're potty trained. They might not have to move their pants.
That's true.
I
So-
don't like socks, never did that.
Right.
Just don't like- Unless I really gotta wear them, doesn't it?
It's cold. I'm putting socks on.
So this is more like for the social worker assessing newborns' nervous system, sleep, wake states, provide useful information if they have active sleep, so periods with eye movement. Also have quiet sleep, that's periods with no eye movement. When you have REM, they say you guys are dreaming, you got rapid eye movement. You can see somebody's eyes moving under their eyelids. It's creepy. It's like, it's scary. Unstable sleep patterns have been observed in many types of atypical brain development. Early sleep patterns have predicted subsequent developmental outcomes. Here's the questions for you guys. How can we tell whether a baby is developmentally delayed? What would you think? Like this is called developmental.
When he's not doing anything, like
Okay.
he just like there looking,
Mhm.
or like not responsive.
Right. Yeah.
I would say probably not.
Mhm. And then there's different ages. So as a social worker, if you say, for example, works for Help Me Grow, you would have different ages you would match up with the different things the kids should be doing. What do you think about infant mental health? Is there such a thing? Like, what is infant mental health?
You know dogs have mental health too?
I've heard you give them like
anxiety.
Yes.
from the fireworks and all that.
No, like my dog do not like being in the park. Like she
Right.
do not like being in the park. She will cry.
Right.
Like she cry until she get out the car. She got to back her herself. Or if she's somewhere she not used to being, she just do all type of shit.
Right. So there is, yeah, they've been studying this for dozens of years. So it's a field that promotes healthy social and emotional development. Because I would imagine if you scream at your kid for every single thing they do, eventually they're going to be like, scared or whatever. You know what I mean? If you're encouraging, certainly there can be a balance, or like they're real bad, you might like swat them. But reason people are saying now no spanking whatsoever. What do you guys think about that? Do they need to be spanked, or you think it's
Babies? No.
or a kid, or like you know,
A little pat, no.
right? Okay.
Yeah, but
Like,
like,
don't like-
whooping though.
Research on that specifically.
I know a lot of people like, let me say this, black people, we joking like our childhood trauma,
Mhm.
but like our parents whooping us, beating our ass, but for real, that shit ain't funny. Like,
Right.
we used to get our ass beat because
Yeah.
we just got a phone call from state class.
Right.
Like, your mom just
You
beat
know
the shit out of
you
you.
finna get
Then they just forget
you
it.
follow
Like,
them,
like,
the teachers will look at you like, I know they did what they
You came to school the
did.
next day, you was playing, they talk to your friends for the next day.
Tell them I'm supposed to do what happened. And they ended up calling my mom. And she
Like
was-
kids. Or...
My mom beat my ass.
She whooped you again.
Yeah.
You want some more?
So
My mama tell us like,
when I was like 3 or 4, I lit the entire backyard on fire. It was like a young age. My mom said that was the main time she spanked the crap out of me.
yeah,
She
'cause
said
that's
I fake cried so loud. She like said I was dramatic that she didn't want to spank me again, and maybe that's why I'm so messed up. I'm like, maybe you should have spanked me.
I feel like it depends. Things like some kids, okay, no, you don't
Yeah.
do that. Because if you don't, then they just gonna keep doing it. But like a hardcore like,
Right. Well, like what we saw in the video of them beating that 9-year-old, that was like brain injury, uncalled for type of beating. Punching head and stuff, like
Unnecessary.
yeah.
They're not even fully developed yet. It might look like it, but
Right.
I don't know. It's like
Right.
years.
Yeah, you could do some damage. So we'll try to. I'm splitting this into thirds, so we're getting right at the cusp. So for like mental health, they want kids from birth to 3 years old experience, regulate, and express emotion. So we teach them how to like talk about things. A lot of times I'll just yell like, or cry, and we're like, no, use your words. Like ask for something, like say please help or something simple. Or form close, secure interpersonal relationships. We'll get into attachment soon. And then explore environment and learn in the context of family, community, and cultural expectations for young children. So just learning how to communicate, how to discipline, how to draw the line with kids, not having to go forward, and doing stuff.
I got a question. Why do babies sleep so freaking well?
Because they're growing so much. So all they do is eat, sleep, poop, eat, sleep, poop, eat, sleep, poop, eat, sleep, poop. It's a constant, and that's all they do. There is a trauma one I wanted to find you. Child trauma. It's usually the first hit because it's like a Harvard research. So there's a lot to be said about this. I know I focus in on childhood trauma. If you guys remember, I've shown like, how many of y'all seen Removed yet? Because this is usually like
what's the thing? What?
about child trauma and foster kids.
I don't watch these videos with like that background. I've seen that background before. I watch
Did you show us
crackheads and strippers stories of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like this?
What's it called?
Soft white
Yes,
underbelly.
belly,
Soft
Yeah,
white.
yeah. Y'all look past like these people really living like
They be really invested trucks.
I watched the girl with her pimp.
Yeah.
I watched the one with her pimp. She said, yeah, she said like I was bottling. I believe so. I'm like, oh girl. Yeah, so you should have ran.
So I can't find the one I want, but child trauma
Yes, that's where they be at, LA and real, like Nebraska. You don't I'm quite sure it's just
This is really sad. The brain is like spiked. At least they're talking about how to heal it in this video.
The roots of mental illness reside often in the first 5 years of life.
Is this in China?
When we talked about how babies are affected by witnessing domestic violence, people did not believe us.
Alicia Lieberman established Child Trauma Research Program with a very particular mission. And that mission was to understand how can young children and their caregivers heal from trauma in a therapeutic way, and how can we capture that in research and evidence.
Infant mental health and the earliest days have such an incredible impact.
Have you guys seen this speech from her? She's now the Attorney General of California. Dr. Nadine Burke. She has an amazing TED Talk on child trauma, if you have a chance to watch it.
Impact on long-term health and development. What I learned from Dr. Lieberman was there is so much that we can do about it.
It's really useful to think of us as firefighters. We often go into homes that are in great jeopardy. I need help.
What makes child parent psychotherapy unique is its emphasis on relationships.
Parents and children are able to talk about times when maybe the children saw their parents fighting in ways that were angry. When parents are part of their children's healing, that helps them to heal.
Oh, that's good.
To be able to have a clinical modality that did not feel prescribed, that did not feel pathologizing, where something could be labeled the way that CTRP does with trauma.
So, real quick note too, substance abuse researchers also trauma of neglect, which sometimes is easy to forget about. But like, say you drank so much or did heroin, you pass out and your baby's trying to wake you up. You know what I mean? Like they're hungry and then you're passed out and you just snort a line. It's addiction, yeah. It's just straight. So like, there is trauma of neglect also. If you did drink too much or you snort a line of heroin and pass out, your baby's like waking you up, they're starving and crying and trying to wake you up, but you're passed out for 3 to 4 hours on shooting heroin, snorting it, or drinking enough that you pass out. Mm-hmm. So there's trauma of abuse and hitting and neglect, which is like total opposite of the hitting, if that makes sense.
Little kids was breathtaking.
We are transforming systems. We have trained thousands of clinicians. We are in 37 states, and we are in many countries around the world.
The unspeakable, we have the potential to transform outcomes for generations.
So this is the big hot button word in social work is childhood trauma or trauma in general, the effects on the brain, the effects on the body, the stuff that that we see. So that's why I wanted to kind of finish up with a few of on the brain, the effects on the body, the stuff that that we see. So that's why I wanted to kind of finish up with a few of these. The cartoon's good too. I know it looks kind of childish, but there's so much funding going towards trauma right now.
Oh, please. We go through this everything so much. I know.
I can't argue a lot.
It seems like they're always fighting.
I hate it when they know it's crazy.
It's my fault. I just know it.
I hate this. Why can't they be happy?
Stop. I wish they'd stop.
Sometimes things happen to children that impact them in ways you never imagine. And sometimes these events can cause trauma that may affect a child today and in the future. To understand their anxieties and the trauma that may have caused it, look at the situation through the child's eyes. Because if you recognize the signs of childhood trauma, you can do something about it. There is help.
So you guys think you would carry forward a lot of the trauma that you see or like experience growing up and whatnot?
What?
Any trauma, like
And your kids, yeah.
like it's passed on.
That's why
You
you
think
heal
it's
yourself before you have, so you don't pass on your trauma to your kids because your kids are not going to come out
Especially
like
with
you.
girls.
They might come out worse.
Especially with girls.
Yeah.
It be like boys, it's more lenient with y'all, but girls.
Say more about that.
I feel like women, like if you don't heal yourself, you can pass that on to like 3 different generations, and it's worse every time.
It
Like,
get worse.
say you have a grandma, she's an alcoholic, she sleeps with men, she a hoe, and then
You can tell she's a hoe like
yeah, and they don't pay bills now. Her kid, her daughter might be like the average hoe, smoker and a drinker, no degree, 3 kids. Now her kids just got it. Like I'm telling you, I see it with like my own family. Certain stuff they have to heal from is passed on to our kids, and like my generation, like my cousin stuff. We be talking about how our families should have never had us so younger at the age they did because of certain problems that we go through now that our parents was going through that they should have healed themselves on. And even my mom, we had a heart to heart one day. Like this is when I became, and I was telling like my mom wasn't treating me as an adult. I was still feeling treated as a kid. And me and her sat down and talked. And when I looked into her eyes, it's like I literally saw myself, like a younger version of myself in her. So that's why I forgave my mom for like a lot of stuff she put me through because she was still learning as her own. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
yes,
That's
like,
really me.
oh,
I ain't
wow.
gonna lie, I did the same thing with my mom. Like,
Really?
Right.
when you talk to your
Like,
mom, when you have a hard time with your mom, and your mom like don't be realizing that she act just like her mom.
Yeah.
And like all stuff that she and I don't like it is when you turn 18. Like I turned 18 and I literally had to talk to my mom like you act just like your mom. And you don't like realize all the stuff that you went through. Like my mom is like the oldest child, and like you know how the oldest child get treated, like they go through everything. So like my older sister, the way that my grandma treated my mom when she was a child is how my mom treats my older sister and how she treats the rest of us. So it's like, and my mom like worked in a prison, so like my mom don't know how to. Well, she didn't know how to like separate how she treat her inmates in prisons from like home. So like being at home was like being in jail. Like she didn't know how to separate it. So we had to have like a whole conversation about like how what you went through and how you treat us is like maybe stuff that you already went through and stuff like that. It make your relationship stronger for real.
How long did she work in the prison setting?
My mom still work at a prison.
So like 20 years. It's almost like a military dad then.
Yeah, like it's
Sit down, clean up.
It's like that to a certain extent. It's just like she has no choice but to like be strong and like put on this front. So it's like when she get home, she feel like she gotta be strong in front of us and put up this front. It's like you don't have to do that. Like you don't have to do that with us.
Right.
And it's my mom's like a very structured person. If there's no structure, she can't do it. She don't know how to function. So
But some of that is okay stuff to pass on. Maybe you got to be cool with that structure too.
So I think my mom. I think my mom had all her kids like a age. My mom had all of us after she got her master's.
Okay.
Yeah, so she walked across the stage with me.
Oh wow.
So,
in the belly.
Yeah, so she walked across with me. I don't think my mom like had none of us at like a bad age.
Right.
I think she had us at the age. I just think like while she was parenting and my dad, I think like that was like what was traumatizing, like being in a household with like them two, and then on top of both of that's 2 different childhood traumas in one house. Like that's what I think is traumatic. I think the way my mom had us, and I think everything she did was like the perfect way to have like a baby and stuff like that. I just think like the childhood trauma from both of them is like what made the household toxic.
I just wish my mom had when she was 17, so she's still a kid to me. So I felt like me and her growing up, like I'm the oldest, so like people say the oldest do go through a lot. I'm my mom's first child, so I'm her first lesson, so I'm the one that's in there getting the bad parents and getting this and that.
How many kids did she have?
She has 3. She
Okay.
could have 4. That's why I got this face tattoo.
She under 40?
Yeah, and my
I
mom,
feel old
she lost,
now. You guys
she
know
lost her son like before I came to college too. So like my mom was really growing up. Her parents died when I was 2 and 3, so she was still a kid. On top of that, she's raising a kid and raising her parents. Going through her life. My mom was a single mom because my dad passed away too. So my mom just was dealing with so much. And she told me like as I'm younger, like as I got older, she told me she wished she would have had me a little older because like with my sister and my brother, she's way more loving towards them, way more. And she would get mad at me because I would tell her like, you didn't do that with me growing up. Like as soon as I messed up, you beat me up. But when they messed up, you like for just helping them. And I didn't get that love. So now as an adult, me like I won't have kids until I actually go through therapy, put myself together. Yeah, because I don't want my worst fear is becoming my mom. Like no shit. I don't want to be my mom.
And now you see what we do.
I love her, but I don't want to be like her.
The genogram. Because
that genogram, I put some of that
it's
stuff
real
in my
shit.
genogram.
It's like, damn. That's why.
I was the youngest child, but it was different for me. Like I got in trouble like from my siblings stuff. Like it was bad, and my sister was old too. So it was not
the whole.
Exactly. It was just
Are you the oldest?
No, I'm the youngest. So between my mom and my dad, I'm the youngest. Between like all my siblings put together, I got like 8 siblings put together. Between like all my siblings put together, I'm like the 3rd youngest. But I think like what you said is like right, like how the oldest get treated like worse compared to the other kids. But it's like that. Like with my mom, she be having to make like adjustments. That's why like I be really having to when you think about it, you really gotta forgive your mom for like everything that she did because like she was learning just how like you learned.
Yeah.
So like when I talk to my mom, like, you treat me different, like you do treat me differently. And that was because she was just like learning how to, that was your first learning how to be your mom. So like
yeah,
she was just rude. She was
right.
mean, like,
but do they have like a better spot?
Like I was like
we just come on, it's just